Hey, good morning, good morning. Monday, last day of February. Last day of February. Boy, I tell you what, I'm so grateful for this day. G is for gratitude. And I'm coming on a little earlier today, and I'll be reposting this up. But I'm so grateful what's happening every moment of my breathing day. Because this moment is the most important moment we have in our life. And what we do with this moment is going to determine what's going to happen in the future for you. It's accumulation. The results where we're at today are just an accumulation, like Einstein says, is accumulation of all your thoughts, your beliefs, actions have gotten to you where you're at. And last week we were talking about Bob Proctor. I just want to bring Bob up real quick. My wife and I are both certified Proctor Gallagher consultants, and we've been teaching these principles that Bob taught us for the last, it's almost 7 years now. I can't believe how time is flying, but it has made a huge difference in my life. It's made a huge difference in our clients' lives. And so yesterday was a tribute, 2 hours, and all the different people that have Bob has influenced millions of people around the world, from the movie The Secret, which he was a major part in that, talking to the law of attraction. But really, the real law is the law of polarity, positive, negative. Whatever you put out comes back. That's the law of attraction. But what he meant to people, Bob was one of the most giving, caring persons that I've ever met. He knew how to be present with people, and I think if you ever have a chance to hear his tribute that was done yesterday, take it. It's learning in itself. Seeing some very significant people that Bob influenced, Mark Vincent Hansen. I could just go down a whole list of people that Bob has influenced, coached, and guided so they can take this message in their own way to the world. But yeah, so it was a great day yesterday, seeing the tribute of countless number of people. The theme is Bob loved you. Anytime he was with you, he was with you. And that's a unique trait in itself. He was a giver. He gave so much to those that are around him, but I just recall how much time he gave individuals in training on a one-on-one. Didn't have to, I don't like using have to, but it was many times people can be distracted, but Bob never let the environment distract him to give you his full attention. So a very special man, a very special person. And he's made a big influence. So we've been teaching out of this Bob's book, The ABCs of Success. And I'm going to cover a lesson here in a moment. It's just a short lesson, but and hopefully you'll take it away and apply what you hear today, and start making a difference in your life and the lives of people around you. It's the simple things that we can make a big difference in. But I also, before I forget, I want to make an announcement that Mark Gassert and I, Elevate Your Profits, tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, Mark and I are going to be on Elevate Your Profits. We're going to do a launch meeting for about 30 to 40 minutes about our corporate sponsor, why we have taken this path as MSI, a secondary income, a new business path, or whatever, because that's one of the things I've been doing for the last 40 years, is having multiple streams of income, and why I've pivoted in putting so much emphasis in our corporate sponsor. So join us tonight at 6 p.m. Uh, we're going to share with you a little bit about the tip of the iceberg of this tremendous company that's doing some very significant thing in the health arena at a scientific cellular level. You'll understand what redox biochemistry is, and we'll continue sharing that out. Um, so it's an exciting technology for health, and it's the foundation of our health. And tonight we'll be covering that uh, in great detail to expose what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing in our mission to get this information out. So that's 6 p.m. tonight. I'm going to recognize somebody that has just come in. Yeah, Jay, loss of a great person. I don't know if you had any personal interaction with him or followed his stuff or his teachings or whatever, but I was blessed to have him be coached and mentored personally by Bob Proctor on 3 different occasions in my business development. He turned everything around, even though I had levels of success that most people would say, gee, I wish I could get there, but he's taken me to a different level in my purpose and my why. So, Jay, thanks for jumping on. Hope to see you tonight at 6 p.m. Mark and I are going to be talking a little bit more about um, something you're quite familiar with as well, our corporate sponsor. So jump in, share it out. Um, but today's lesson, Bob takes things that a lot of times people think are complicated and make them more complicated, bigger mountains than they really are. And he breaks down some principles that are so important to understand to improve yourself. As we improve ourselves, we can then impact and improve other people's just by our walk and the example that we give. And the one I'm going to cover today is I like to always I'll share this story prior to getting into the lesson. Yeah. But Jay, you'll be able to, his legacy will continue not only through his recordings, his books, all the resources he has out there, but the PGI consultant team will continue teaching these principles that Bob taught for over 60 years. So never too late to learn from the master. And hopefully we can carry on that legacy with the same power that he did. So let's talk. I'd like to share a story with you before I get in the topic we're going to be talking today. It's rise above it is the subject. And I'm going to go back about 40 years, and I'm going to share with you when I first started dating my future wife, Kathleen. I noticed something that was quite interesting. And just put yourself in the same boat. Have you done this? Or do you do this? So one day we were in the car, she's driving, and we come up to a stop sign, and there's a car in front of us. Busy street, traffic going both ways, back and forth. And the car in front of us was just patiently waiting with the signal on. And I'm just sitting there and I'm noticing what's going on. But my love of my life today, she sort of lost it. She called the guy in front of me, can't hear her, of course, but a jerk and come on, turn, what's holding you up? And she just verbally exercised frustration to a point that I go, wow, that's interesting. So this is early on. And the car moved. She got up to, and then she took her hesitancy before she pulled right out, made sure it was safe. And so I noticed that. And but the next time I was in the car with her, I was driving, sort of the same situation behind somebody at a stoplight. And she started barking out the same thing she did when she was driving. Come on, jerk, turn. What's holding you up? We got to get going. Just verbally outside that frustration and actually a degree of anger. And later on, I had a conversation. I says, "What is that all about?" And she is a learned behavior, a learned behavior. How we respond or react in many cases to the simplest things, even though there's, if you really think about it, it's caution and making sure you don't just jump out in the middle of a busy intersection and get hit. But how we react and things that we do um, are learned behaviors. How do we react to circumstances that may cause us a little bit of frustration? So in that conversation, she says, how do you stay so calm? And this is way before a lot of personal development. This is way back in 1988, 1988, 87 actually. And I says, it's a decision. How many times have I delayed somebody and maybe get lost in my thoughts, or they don't realize what I see and they can't see and they get frustrated? How many times have I done that myself? And I don't like the feeling of that frustration and the anger that comes out. See, it's not a comfortable place to be. See, I have a decision to make. I can bark out my frustrations, yell at people, road rage, or whatever we want to call it. I could do that, but I do not like that feeling. How many times have I cut somebody off? How many times have you been cut off? What do you react to? Yeah, there's a natural thing that somebody cutting you off could create peril, could cause an accident, and that's a natural state of fear. But it's what you do with it after that fact. Do you do the one hand salute, the one finger salute? So it's a choice. I choose to stay in a place of calmness. That's a decision. And so that sort of leads to what we're talking about here today. And Bob addresses that. One of the most common reactions to frustration is aggression. And that can be very, very subtle, but aggression is aggression. It can escalate. What do you do with somebody, you're driving down the road and they block your progress while you're rushing to that appointment? Our thin veneer of our civilized behavior peels off with the blast of the horn and angered gestures. That sound familiar? That's what most people are doing. While aggression may be a direct and common reaction to frustration, the reaction itself often leads to an additional source of frustration, especially if it's another person who is the target of the aggression. The other person may hit back. You know, a lot of psychologists used to think that frustration automatically leads to aggression. That used to be the prevailing thought from psychologists. Through further research, what they really found out, it was not true. Because everybody's different. It's basically people are influenced by the culture they were brought up with and how they respond or react. And that could be right in your own family nucleus. What did your mother, father do when they got frustrated? And guess what? You can probably look at your behavior, it's probably identical. It's a learned response. If it's learned, it could be unlearned. And I didn't realize what I was unlearning. I just knew I didn't like the area of frustration and anger. You know, my stupid stuff in the past, I used to have a hot temper, and that created what? Me getting hit many times. And I definitely didn't want to go in that, but I just don't like the feeling of being in that state of frustration, anxiety that leads to anger. I make a decision to respond. And so in Bob's writing in this little piece right here, it's rise above it. And he talks about a story of Sir Alec Guinness, great actor, stage actor. And, one of his co-actors brought him to this point of understanding because Sir Alec Guinness would fly off the handle. He's hot-tempered and would shout and holler, and things weren't going right. And his Sir Tyrone Guthrie said this to him: use these 3 simple words: rise above it. Rise above it. And repeat it out loud. Rise above it. Internally, rise above it. Because you have at that point a decision that you can make to either react or respond. And I like to share that we're talking about Bob Proctor. I mean, these simple wisdoms, these things are simple, but they're profound. And how do you react to frustration? That person cutting you off or cutting in line at the theater. We can go on and on. What are those things that cause you to just go off? To a point, sometimes it's getting in somebody's face. I mean, we've seen it. Has it happened to you? Have you done it to somebody else? Just rise above it. In the big scope of things, the person cutting you off is not a big deal, as long as there was nothing tragedy coming out of it, an accident, somebody getting hurt. And even then, how would you respond or react? Create the situation, make it worse. How many times have we, things that frustrate us, people that may frustrate us, negativity, and anytime we get around them, it seems like the conversation ends to some sort of disagreement or conflict or that. Those things you're allowing to happen. And I call something that Bob taught me and taught his consultants: how do you diffuse that situation when you're dealing with somebody? Understanding this basic principle of psychology, Maslow, and you're dealing with somebody that's negative, you do this and you say this with a smile on your face. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing. 2 things happen there. It causes you to be in a place of non-confrontation. You acknowledge somebody, doesn't mean you're agreeing with them. Psychologically, you're seeing them and you're hearing them, doesn't mean that you're agreeing with them. And it settles down that situation. Try it sometime. Just use those things. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing. There's no place to go, but maybe a new path of conversation. It's amazing how that works. So we make the decision. Just rise above it. In the big scope of life, many of those things that frustrate us are not a big deal. Just rise above it. Put it in the past. When we stay in that place, we're living in the past. Those triggers keep coming up, and we stay in a place of frustration and anger and aggression. Can't change the world with conflict. You can change the world by demonstration that there is a better way. That was the lesson the other day. There is a better way to deal with anything. So in closing, our frustration can lead to anger, aggression. Those are learned behaviors. As Bob says, whatever's been learned can be unlearned and relearned with a new idea, a new perspective. Good morning, Theodora. Good morning. Glad you're here. we'll have to connect sometime real soon. So, got a couple ideas for you. Good seeing you. Thanks for jumping on. Share it out. So it's a decision. It's a decision. And just look at how you respond or react. And you can look back. How did you learn that behavior? You can unlearn it. You can unlearn it. And that takes work. Anybody wants. Thank you, Jay, for your comment. Yeah, Bob Proctor was an amazing man. Glad to have him in my life, not just his teachings, but personally knowing him. My wife and I both spent time in his home, got some personal attention, which was absolutely phenomenal. Thanks, Robert, for jumping on. So with that, I'm going to close out with Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl. Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal. Nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, of choice of one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. The choice one's own. And if you know anything about Viktor Frankl, you read his book and what he went through his family in being in a concentration camp and being the only survivor of his family, and the impact that had on him and what got him through that. Pretty powerful words. Like Bob says, just don't read the words and get a good fuzzy feeling. Study the words. Put yourself in the words. How does this relate with you? And when you do that, everything starts changing in this type of information. Simplistic, but deep. Rise above it. What's your behavior? Is it positive or negative? As Frankl said, it's your mental attitude. No one could ever take your mental attitude away from you. They can take your possessions, they can take everything away from you, but you never can take away your belief system and your mental attitude. That is going to be the foundation of your ability to get through anything that may trigger you. So with that all said, everybody have a great day. Rise above it. Get this book, The ABCs of Success, Bob Proctor. If you don't know who he is, I encourage you to seek him out. He has coached and mentored some of the greatest influencers in the modern era of personal development. I'm not going to drop those names, but he's been an influencer to anybody's that we know in a significant way. Bob has personally coached each and every one of those persons on the principles he's been teaching for 60 years. Understanding the results we get in life are directly related to our subconscious internal belief system. And if it's not serving you and not getting the results that you want, you can change how you think. As a man thinketh, so he becomes. With that all said, everybody have a great day. Make it a blessed day. When somebody cuts you off today, rise above it. Something frustrates you, rise above it. See what happens. How do you feel? You moved your state out of that negative vibration to a state of calmness. Be grateful. What did you learn? What did you come away with? What did you come away with? You'll find that's the states that you want to be in. You have a choice of how you feel. May not have a choice around the circumstance, but how you feel about those circumstances. So everybody have a great day. God bless. ABC's success. I encourage you to get it. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.